Alright, hello everybody. Thank you for tuning in. I'm going to be doing a beginning episode here for the Beginner's Guide to Be Pro. Very first topic here is going to be about lead scoring. So we'll get into very bare bone basics about not only what it is, but kind of also how it's going to work, and then the beginning portions of what does it look like and what can I actually do with it. I'm going to start off with just Google's concept of what lead scoring is, and then my concept of lead scoring. I think this will be a good, fun compare and contrast for us to kind of figure out what this is and what I'm talking about. But as stated here, lead scoring is a methodology used by sales and marketing teams to assign a numerical value to leads, indicating their sales readiness and probability of becoming a customer. By analyzing explicit data like demographics, job title, and company size, and implicit behaviors like website visits, email opens, and content downloads, businesses can prioritize high-scoring leads, focus sales efforts, and increase conversion rates. Lead scoring, in my opinion, is not only that, but it's a more accurate representation of who should you continue to keep in touch with based upon these different points and key points for like criteria. And yes, it is focused on how many emails have they clicked or opened, how many links they decided to go ahead and opt into, how many website visits. But I think the one thing it missed is the difference between and how it fluctuates between how well they do and what their performance value is like that makes them essential for a key client or a key customer. Every single time they open up an email link, for example, and they engage with that link inside the email, you can set that to be plus 5 points, for example. I'll explain what these points are in just a minute. Let's say they started off at like nothing, first time person, boom, right there, 5 points. And they're like, you know what? I really like this. Let's also continue engaging more. And now I'm going to go onto the website. That website can be an extra 20 points. And then every single time they do an activity, whatever you set the point value to, they get more points, and then eventually the points system, which I was saying before that we'll get into and what it means, that corresponds to a scale out of 1 to 5. So if you're looking at 1 being the worst and 5 being the best. I shouldn't really phrase it that way because you are at a 1 level doesn't mean you are the worst customer. There are no worst customers and there's no worst clients. Some just engage more than others depending on free time, availability, life is hectic, life is crazy, right? So someone who has maybe only 5 points and they've been in your database for, a pretty decent amount of time, and let's say you have a client basis like pipeline of let's continue the average of like a 100. I think that's just a good even number to have, right? You have 100 clients or customers that you have in your database on your pipeline that you're trying to see who you want to remarket to, because obviously the ones that have and perform the best are the ones that you want specifically. If you're very limited on time, let's say extreme time crunch, and be like, hey, I have a lot of work to do, but I need to do a quick remarketing thing, reach out to a bunch of these people who's performing the best. If you didn't have lead scoring in effect, it's very difficult to go through 100 different people and be like, all right, they clicked this, but did they do this? But how often are they doing it? That's too tedious. We don't need to do that. The best way is to implement lead scoring. So you have this data value that is the point metric system. So let's just say increments of 5. You got 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, etc., right? 5 points. Let's just say that's enough to get you to, we use Keep as their CRM platform. And within their point system for lead scoring goes based upon flames. You get 1 flame, 2, 3, 4, 5. Once again, 1 being the least, 5 the highest. 5 points, let's just hypothetically say that is just enough to get the 1 flame. What does 1 flame mean? That means they are very low on the user's end. They're not as engaged in the activity, so maybe in the long run, you're maybe not gonna be responding to them first before anyone else. Obviously, you want closer to 5. So 1, you'll be like, okay, they're still good. You don't want to get rid of them because maybe you can find a new tactic or a new way in general to catch their attention. You don't want to just make a loss just because for no reason. Like, you keep them, just find better strategies that might appeal to their wants and needs. The 4 and 5s, definitely. Those are, I would say, if you had to choose anything, your 4 and absolutely your 5s should be your main target audience. If you have all 5s across the board, fantastic. but I think marketing and continue to gear towards that 4 level and that 5 level is definitely the best idea, because this allows people like Paul and myself, when we are reviewing different clients or potential clients or anything along the lines of that, where we get to keep track of all this in our pipeline, once again in our CRM for Keep. It helps us to be like, okay, these are the people that make more sense to reach back out to, because they clearly have a real attachment to the work we do. And so it just makes it a lot easier. It's like, hey, these are the people, we have all of them organized between level 4, level 5 flames, reach back out to them. If you were to really narrow down and crunch all that information that I just said, condense that down more, all it is a quicker way for us to review who the top performing customers or clients are that engage with our stuff more often. We got that information and reach back out to them. It's just for us to have a better understanding of who our clientele actually is and who actually cares about the products or services or whatever it is that we are doing for said client. Now, one thing I actually do want to show is, what does this actually look like? Something to also note, if someone opts out of an email, that can be like -5 points. You can also lose your points as well. So you could have like 5 flames and you opt out of an email, that's 5 points gone. If all your system is based upon increments of 5, you're already down to a level 4. So now I'm gonna go back and show the physical process of what this actually looks like. So right here we have Keep pulled up. So for right here, we have a whole system. If the lead score falls to 2, what does this actually mean? So what we have set here is if the score decreases by 2 flames, if that happens, we have a re-engage system, which is just a basic start process. And then we have the same thing for if it falls down to 1. And then the community manager outreach, which eventually I would imagine these would have to be built, because there is a re-engagement process. If someone falls under there, you would have a follow-up, maybe an email or a text message. Typically more likely an email. Then you would probably have a delay timer set to there, and then possibly like another email, maybe another delay. And then for the community manager outreach, in that case, if it falls to 1, it would ping Paul, be like, hey, we have this client or customer who fell down to 1, maybe follow up with them to see what's going on. There would be a whole process if the score drops to 0, basically saying they've just opted out of everything, but they're just done altogether. So as you can see here, decreases, no flames have been added. Then you would have the manager urgent outreach right there as well. 1 is pretty severe, but the fact that they opted out of everything and they're done, that's something extremely important that Paul would need to know and be like, okay, what's going on? If they were at a 5 and then they just dropped hard to like a 0, we need to figure out what's going on. So that's kind of the little process of there right there. So if you opt out of something, you can lose the 5 points. If you opt back into that, you can gain those 5 points to get that 1 flame, and then to continue on with the process example that I was using before. This last little snippet right here, you have something called super engaged member. What does that mean? Score increases because that makes more sense. So it goes up to the 5 flames, the highest you can go. There are perks of being a super engaged member. In getting those 5 flames, you're being on top of everything, you're engaging 100%. So there would be a little process for that. We do have a setup required, a super brand user reward. I think this is a really, really good example of what a very basic outline can look like for lead scoring. Hopefully you guys learned something pretty interesting here today, and I think this is actually a really fantastic way to not only bring in brand new content onto the JAGZSXE channel for me to start teaching people about the basics that I am beginning to understand, but I hope to learn even more from other professionals or other people who are also interested or who do this, as a job, like me as well. And maybe we can learn more together, because I would love that. That would be fantastic. Thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, I'll see you guys later on the next Beginner's Guide to Be Pro.